Good day, folks. I think today we're going to kind of go over how I ended up here. Well, a long time ago, a friend of mine introduced me to, well, his brother that had two books. And we flipped through them one by one and decided that we wanted to do whatever was in those books. We wanted to adventure high and low and, become stronger and cast spells and all that fun stuff. And while I don't think we ever played D&D at all, my friend's older brother ran us, through many adventures, and we created our own maps as we went. And I don't think that we played a single campaign that wasn't effectively a point crawl or a hex crawl. We didn't know what that was, but we were drawing the map as we were going, and we were going into castles, into dungeons, into cloud top, towers and stuff. It was amazing. And I hesitate to share the name of the fantasy world that we created at the time. I have not spoken to my friends from that era in a long time, but needless to say, it sparked an imagination that would effectively last me, well, definitely until now and hopefully until the day I die. So I used these books as inspiration to start creating my own maps. And it took a long, long hiatus to, grow up and to go to high school and all that fun stuff. But I rediscovered D&D as a dungeon master with 4th edition. And I gotta say, this particular book is filled with some amazing things. Lots of great content for the DM to run the game. This has been, as you can see, very well indexed for my use. And during this era, I created even more maps, and I bought way too many minis. I bought way too many books. I bought way too many adventure modules, something that was new to me. And it opened up the whole world of possibilities of what you could do with role-playing. And that was pretty cool. It was pretty cool. Fast forward some more time due to family obligations, kids, various things, transitioning into playing more computer games and things like that. We find ourselves on my journey kind of stumbling in that frame. Like, the rest of my life was fine, but we have a lack of players and a lack of other things to do with tabletop role-playing games. But then I discovered a book, For Against Darkness, a pretty amazing tome, if you ask me. I'm not going to attempt to pronounce the name of the author because I will butcher it. But this opened up a massive toolbox for me. Like, I could do this on my own. This is amazing. I started playing this probably in 2018 or so. And ever since then, I've been playing solo-oriented things from time to time, but it was solo books. I vaguely remember borrowing older choose your own adventure books when I was younger, but those read to me just like many novels in the same book as opposed to an adventure that you were creating. This was more in line with what I like to do, which was create maps and to run into monsters. And this was the dungeon equivalent of that, and that was a lot of fun. And then we get to more of the nitty-gritty of things, and where I'm going to be going through a lot more books very quickly, because I got into, or rather I discovered Ironsworn by Sean Tompkin. This, along with the original D&D books that I discovered as a kid, is probably the most pivotal moment for me in gaming, especially solo. This allowed me to play and create and flow the game very easily, from fighting to creating to story to creating a narrative that didn't really make sense when you were just dungeon delving. And it gave you all these amazing tools, amazing oracles, and I still use this tome in a lot of solo role-playing games that aren't Ironsworn, just because the oracles in themselves are a great solo tool. So this book, highly recommend for everybody to purchase, and the PDF is available for free as well. So it's a free game, and I downloaded it and printed it out, and then I said, well, screw it, I'm going to buy the book, because I'm a physical player. I like having the things in front of me, and I just get a lot more out of my games. Ironsworn, amazing book. Then we get into the time period where my friends and I are transitioning from board games and playing a lot of board games, heavy board games, light board games, whatever. That can be a whole different video, but this is more of where I came from and how I ended up here with you guys. And of course, the natural progression for me was D&D 5e. I had played 4e for a long time. I attempted to get my group back into D&D with the books and the material I already had, but at the time, D&D 5e had been out for a while, and some of them were already in groups in 5e, so I said, well, that's fine, I will jump on the bandwagon as well. Had a lot of fun with this game, had a lot of fun running it. The being an adult with many important things to do made it very hard to create lasting campaigns, which inevitably made a little bit of a sour taste in my mouth for this particular edition of the game. But this also is a wonderful system, and I still enjoy using it from time to time, just have not been able to play with in real life people. And then as I'm discovering tabletop role-playing is more than just the high fantasy, I discover the more gritty, darker side of the genre. And for my first free league book, I discover Symbaroum. This book opened up a lot for me. It told me that there was different ways to roll, different kind of classes and backgrounds, and just the whole vibe of a setting can be different than the high fantasy. And I mean, look at the art. It is just phenomenal. And while I didn't get to play this too much with people, as a map maker and as a kind of a storyteller in my head, I love the lore and the feeling and the grit that this system provided. I wish I could have gotten this to the table more, but I still use this for lore and for monsters and stuff, for my solo play from time to time. Wonderful, wonderful book. And then I am stumbling around, and I'm playing other, solo games. I'm still playing For Against Darkness. I discovered, other like solo journaling games, that I dabbled with, and those were okay. But then going on the train of more and seeing what other books that Free League had, I discovered Forbidden Lands, and this hit the sweet spot for me. This book, every time I open this book, I love the map, and I have the map, in fact, right in front of me, right there, and it's just very inspiring. And I love the art style. It reminded me of those older books that I used to go through. And just the way it was written, the way that the hex crawl and the procedural generation of everything, and the encounters. I ran this a couple of times with some friends, and we had a lot of fun. It didn't stick, but I, as the GM, had a ton of fun using these tables and the monsters, and I love the adventure sites. And this system, the whole adventure site creation system that is also in the book, made it really easy to just create new things for your characters to run into. And then I started to try to play this solo a little bit, but it was a little hard. The solo tools that I had run into at the time weren't really jiving with me. I tried to use the Ironsworn system, and that was working a little bit, but that system is definitely a lot more narrative as opposed to procedural. So mixing those two, for me, was a little difficult. That was until I discovered the Geek Gamers YouTube channel. And I have to say, I have to give a huge shout out to her and her little crochet hook and her presentation of the material. Her how to solo video changed the way I thought about, playing games. And this book that came out a little bit ago now, I can't remember exactly when the publication date is, 2022, so a couple of years now. This book has changed the way I think, and in fact there is one of her sayings on here: everything is playing, and what happens next are two pillars of the solo game master's mindset that I keep in my forefront all the time. Everything that we do in this hobby is playing. And the only thing that you need to ask yourself about what happens with your character is what happens next. And those two mind frames, for me, help me propel my story beyond character creation or map creation for me. So this book, I keep on my desk at all times, and I use it constantly, and I'm currently using it in my current Shadow Dark campaign. And I cannot recommend this book enough. I'm sure many of you have heard that Ironsworn got a, not reboot, and not necessarily even a reskin, but a sequel in the form of Ironsworn Starforged. This book, it's already well made, but I have worn it down so much already. I've used this book more than anything else so far. This is probably my favorite system so far of all time. The way it's written, the way it's laid out, the rules, the tables, everything in this book for me was spot on perfect. And it's one of my first non-fantasy focused solo books, and it opened my mind to playing sci-fi, and I love science fiction. I was just having a hard time with playing that at the table. I remember trying to play Rifts a long time ago, and all that my friends and I did was stare at it and go, huh, well, that's interesting. That's cool. Let's build a big old robot, creature that can shoot laser beams across the galaxy. But that's all we would do. It's kind of like in the solo gaming, we create characters and then just move on. And again, everything is playing. So I have to give me and my friends some credit. We used our imagination, we created these cool things, and we moved on to the next thing, which I believe at the time was magic. But Ironsworn Starforged, an amazing book, amazing system. Sean Tompkin knocked out of the park, and the tables in here, everything in here is literally perfect. I think this is one of the most perfect books that has ever been printed, alongside the Solo Game Master's Guide. And I played that so much, I had to take a pause just so I wouldn't burn myself out, because I want to go back to it and revisit or remake a new truth world, so to speak. And I started shopping around for more games that were solo contained books that I didn't necessarily need like oracles to go along with it, or a separate book to go along with it. And then I went down the rabbit hole of print and play and itch and drive through and all those things. I'm sure everyone has done that as well. And I discovered this. Well, you can't see it, but this is I bound this book myself. It's a little shively done, but Disciples of Bone and Shadow. This book by Alex T. I absolutely love this. I played this for about 6 months straight after I printed it out. I had the PDF for quite a long time. In fact, I had the free version from Exalted Funeral for a while on my phone, and I couldn't get into it, so I had to print it out. And after I bound it, and then I started rereading it in book form, and I absolutely fell in love with this thing. So I highly recommend anyone else searching for this. They do not, at the time of this video, have the print available, but it's not that hard to print this out in black and white and just bind it yourself. It's not that difficult. Lots of videos on YouTube on how to bind books and everything. Disciples of Bone and Shadow, love this system. And of course, during most of my current years, I've been going on Kickstarter and buying some things here and there. Most of them are supplement based. Obviously, Starforged was a Kickstarter, and I discovered that Free League had another game coming out that was a remake of a game that was from the 80s. And I discovered Bane. This is their reprinted rulebook from the core set, the box set. But this game, again, I played probably for 6 to 7 months on and off, straight solo, and they had printed solo rules for the game. And when I learned that Sean Tompkin was in charge of making those solo rules, it made sense. But I used just those rules and just the content from the books, and I even started the adventure book in solo. It's really difficult. The game is a little deadly. But of course, in solo gaming, you make up your own rules on how not to kill your character. Remember, we do not have to be that hard on our characters. Bane, wonderful game, wonderful art in all the books. Oh, gorgeous, just gorgeous. I would take these pages and turn them into scenes for my character. It was pretty cool. I'm very visual, and I like having maps. And while I don't use minis or use like the wargaming aspect of the hobby, I do like using them from time to time for representation, if you will. And we come to mostly the present. And with the present comes what I'm currently doing. And I am currently playing Shadowdark. And this is the special edition version of the core rulebook. I had to get it solely because it's literally printed or covered in my favorite color of all time. And yes, I made that decision based on that. I probably would not have done this without it. And I absolutely love this system. Love the art, love the way it's written. I can speak as highly of this as I can with the Solo Game Master's Guide. While this game is intended for a game master and players, I find this tome quite easy to solo, just because of all the tables that are in here, and the very simple D20 like roll high, add a modifier, straight rolls make it really easy to do the things with your character. And a few people have asked me how I handle the timer, and that is something I keep waffling back and forth on. And for that, I actually bought oops, I bought an hourglass, an actual hourglass that lasts for 60 minutes. So I'll start using this in my sessions, and it's going to be my timer for the session in of itself. So most of my videos will be about an hour-ish, if not shorter. So that's that going forward. And that's me in a nutshell on how I got here. This has been an amazing journey for me to discover all these books and then eventually pull the trigger on joining the community here on YouTube. And all I'm here for is just creating content for myself, mostly. The things I want to do and the games I want to play. And to have a log of those experiences. And I just figure if I enjoy it, others probably would enjoy it as well. So if you're here watching now, why don't you comment down below and tell me what are your favorite systems and why you got into the hobby, solo or otherwise. And until the next time, folks, I hope all of your rolls are critical, natural 20s, whatever it may be. Peace.